What is up, guys? And we're back. So I'm getting a lot of requests for dealer efficiency guides in Schedule 1, and it's been something that I've been reluctant to touch on because I actually haven't understood a lot about it myself. But I finally received a comment that said, hey, dealer efficiency guide, where is it? So I've had to break it down. Now I know I am no smart fella, but I am no fart smeller. So that means if I can figure it out, you can too. I'm going to walk you through it. So there's actually a lot of online materials that are going to go through a lot of your different customers and their favorite effects. This is going to be really important when we start building our customer lists for our dealers. Now, as you can see in my bungalow, I have a 8-step mixing process. Now, this is not necessary for you. You can have a bunch of mixes in here if you want. You don't need to do an 8-step automated mixing process if you don't want to. You could just have a few mixing tables in here, play around with some mixes, just have some fun with it. If you do want to follow an 8-step, there is going to be a video on my channel that goes into depth on how to get certain effects for certain products. Now the main one we're going to be focusing on today are these bricks here of Coca. If we hover our mouse over the brick, we can see foggy, bright-eyed, tropic thunder, glowing, etc, etc, etc. This is because we've run it through 8 different steps of mixing. So it's pretty simple really. If you're having problems producing Coca at such a large scale, you're going to want to check out my docs guide. So that is, look, it's a bit of a rudimentary guide. We just kind of slap it together and get it out there posted. But it is going to give you the most efficient technique. So that is just kind of like letting you guys know that you can tie in all of your properties as one big circuit. Now, I'm not seeing it commonly done. I'm seeing a lot of under single roof stage productions, and that's just not going to be the most efficient. Okay, so the way I set it up, I've set up a grow operation in the docks, and then that all of the coca leaves get harvested, it gets taken to the barn, and then in the barn, now this is actually tying into the dealer efficiency. So this is the dock setup that I've got. I might as well just show you. So we've got a 40 plant setup growing the coca leaves. That is going to absolutely like smash your shelves, okay? So your job's going to be to pull up in a van, fill it up, and then take it to the barn. And once you pull up in the barn, you're pretty much just going to swing open these doors, take it out, and then you're going to fill all your coca leaves into these shelves. And your employee's going to come to life, and they're going to evenly distribute them into the cauldrons, where they're going to go into the lab ovens, and then produce an even distribution of your product on these shelves like so. Now this can produce a lot of coca. It can produce a lot of coca very quickly. This is how you produce bricks on bricks on bricks for coca at an exponential rate. This is going to allow you to supply all of your dealers with bricks. And now obviously we take it to the final stage of the mixing process. We're taking our raw materials here. So they're not going to be in bricks just yet. You're going to get these little stacks of 20, and you're just going to want to put them in this shelf. Now, whether you follow an 8-step mixing process is totally up to you. As we can see, we're having a lot of issues with this one specific employee. She seems to love to get stuck. So we're going to relieve her of her duties, and we're just going to replace her. Now, hopefully we're not going to have issues with this employee. This looks like a new character model. Maybe mistaken, I have not seen that hair before. It is luscious and elegant. Now you're probably saying, Cowboy, it's been 5 minutes. You haven't talked about dealers. This is a dealer efficiency guide. So we're going to get into how to build now the list for one of your dealers. Now this is going to be the first thing you're going to need to take into consideration. So you're going to need to go whatever product that you're producing. For example, in this case, we've got a standard quality here. This is because we didn't use any fertilizer on the first batch of production. Now, if you're not using fertilizer for your coca production, that's going to produce a standard quality if you're not using drying racks. Now, here's a pro tip. If you're just growing normally, without using drying racks and just routing your pots to your shelves, if you use fertilizer, that is going to upgrade your coca leaves to a premium status, which is purple. So if we go into our contacts, we can see in suburbia, the standards are high, which is purple. And of course is the same in uptown. And we've got docks, we've got a standards of moderate. So that means the product that we're producing now is only going to be good enough for docks and below. So we're going to need to keep this in consideration while we are building our customer list. Now, I don't want to overwhelm you. This looks very complicated and it has taken me a couple days to really sit down and figure it out. We can see we've got these locations down here, okay? So we've got Suburbia, Docks, Downtown, Westville, and Northtown. And these are going to be the customers for that one location, okay? And you're going to have on the top row is their name. And then below that, you're going to see all of the different effects that they like. So we're going to zoom in a little bit. So we're going to see Northtown, we're going to see Austin. Austin is calorie dense, euphoric, and munchies. Those are Austin's favorite effects. So for the sake of this video, I'm only going to be supplying Benji. You can feel free to mix as much products as you want. So I've just had to quickly redesign this. Seems like a lot of the chemists were getting stuck on the mixing station. So we've just pushed all of these racks back through the wall. And now it looks like things are running a bit more smoothly. Hopefully these chemists are not going to get stuck. Yeah, that's going to be fine. So yeah, like I said, we're going to check out the effects on our desired mixed product. Okay. Now in this case, I'm going to focus on two effects at once. I'm going to focus on bright-eyed and glowing. Now we're just going to jump into the chart here. And now I'm looking for any customers above in the top 3 rows that like bright-eyed and glowing. Now there's a little feature down here that's going to give us a hand. So this is search feature. If we just search for bright-eyed and we press search, we're going to see Dennis, Mick, and Peggy are all big fans of bright-eyed. So we're just going to double check that these employees, or these customers, sorry. So we're going to notice that Mick and Peggy are totally going to be all good for us. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to remember Mick and Peggy. I'm going to reset this field here. I'm going to go down here. I'm going to type in Mick, Lovin, and then Peggy Mayers. That's going to be our first 2 customers for Benji. And that's going to be bright-eyed. So now we're going to move on to glowing. So I'm not going to see any customers that like the effect glowing. I'm going to move now on to Foggy and Tropic Thunder. Already we can see lots of loving Tropic Thunder. We're going to start with Greg and Elizabeth. We're just going to throw them on the list. Starting with Greg and Elizabeth. Perfect. That's going to be the first from that row. Then to the next row, we're going to see Doris. Move up. Go along the list. Now, I'm not going to see any more for Tropic Thunder. Now, I do have Foggy on my list as well. So we're going to see Philip here for Foggy. And Charles here for Foggy as well. And then the last is going to be Long-Faced. And we can see Geraldine has Long-Faced. Just going to make sure she's not already on our list. And she isn't. Geraldine is going to be last on our list for Benji. So we're going to take that list and we're going to go back into our game. And then we want to go into our dealers tab. And we want to unassign all of Benji's customers. And now we're just going to want to assign those customers that we figured out that is going to match with our product really nicely. So we're going to see Mick, Peggy, Greg, and these are going to be all in the right region. We have the right product. So this is actually going to highlight how important it is to unlock customers in your region. So that is going to be our star-studded list. And now hopefully, while I've been gone, we've had some product. Great. We've had another brick run through our factory. So we notice a little supply issue here. That's fine. We're just going to give them a bit of a hand, start a process, and hopefully they can continue the circuit. So with that factory up and running, we're going to shoot back over to Benji. Now we're going to drop a bunch of product into his hands. Of course, this product's going to be the product that we designed for his list, and we will only keep feeding Benji that product. Now, feel free to create your own lists. I'm going to leave the links to the description for a recipe mixing calculator and the spreadsheet as well. But we did walk through how we decided to do it. We found a mix in game that we really liked, whether it's first, single, or second stage, and then we went. We only had half of the list to work through, so you're going to have a lot more than that. And now don't worry if by the end of the customers, you're just having to fit them into the dealers. That's fine. If you can get maybe half of your dealers matched with products that have desired effects, that is going to be a massive improvement. I'm also going to leave a link to the guide. So there's not a lot of information out there when it comes to dealer efficiency, but the main information that I'm seeing at the moment is NPC spending is highly dynamic and it depends on their relationship with you, as well as the product as you have unlocked. Now, I'm just reading this straight from the most viewed and highly rated dealer efficiency guide that is listed on the Steam community. So you can see we have a relationship bar here, and this is going to represent level 5, 4, and 3. Now, if your dealers are in the satisfaction between anywhere between 5, 4, and 3, this is going to fluctuate their spending significantly. Now, there doesn't seem to be a spending cap, which means it can fluctuate significantly, which is good news for us. If we keep supplying the dealers with the product that matches their customer list, and the higher that you level as well, the more the dealers are going to purchase more the customers are going to purchase from your dealer. So we're going to let today cycle as a one full day. Remember, there is no one shoe fits all. And here's a pro tip. If you're setting up an automatic 8-step mixing station like this one, you're going to want to make sure that you have discovered all of the products yourself. So if you have undiscovered products and you're trying to get your chemists to mix them, they're not going to actually mix them. They're just going to walk up and stare at it. So you want to make sure that you have gotten yourself one of these mixes and you've gone through the recipe one by one, discovering all of the different products on each stage of your mixing. And that's going to ensure you have a glitch-free setup. Now, I think that's going to be it for the top end of this guide, or this just bit of an information series. I'm just going to assume now that you know nothing about the dealers, okay? So you might be with Benji, or you might even now have Molly unlocked, and you're wondering how do you progress further down the ranks, unlocking more dealers as you go. So for example, in Westville, you're going to see a big grid of people like such. Now, if you don't have all of your potential customers unlocked, a lot of these faces are going to look like this, and you're not going to have much information on who they are. But what you will see is a dealer icon. So the idea when it comes to unlocking a dealer in your region is you want to reach friendly status with one of the people adjacent to the dealer. So we can see here we have Charles and George adjacent. We have Dean Webster is not adjacent, so there's no direct connection between Dean and Molly. In this case, we're going to see Jerry is going to be our pathway to Molly, and we can get to Jerry through either Joyce. There's a lot of ways we can get to Jerry right now. So you just want to focus on working up to a positive friendly status, and then you want to move on to Jerry, offer him a sample, find him out in the roads. You're going to see a nice handy little button called show on map, and that's going to show you exactly where he's going to be on the map, so you can track him down and take him one of your finest product and offer it to him as a sample. And then finally, once you reach friendly status with the customer adjacent to the dealer, and as soon as you hit friendly status, they're going to say, hey, you should talk to my friend Jane. She's really good with something. I'll talk to her for you. And then you want to find Jane on the map. You want to find where these dealers are located. So for Jane, for example, she lives here. Benji's here. Molly's over here. You've got Leo and Wei. And of course, you've got Brad in here as well. And you just want to go to their house, knock on their door, and then they're going to ask you, you're going to be able to ask them, do you want to work for me as a distributor? They're going to charge you a single upfront fee, and then it is going to be your job to put products into their hands. Now, if you use the method that we have just designed with a bit of a mixing process and setup, you're going to be able to maximize your dealer efficiency. And that's what we all want at the end of the day. So I've now just discovered the final product. We're going to get these chemists, put in now 20 units of an 8-step, starting from here, going all the way around the circle, and our handy dandy handler is going to take it into the brick press. Now, I'm not going to bang on for much longer. Thank you so much for watching. If this has helped you in any way or given you some information that you might not be totally aware of, please let me know down in the comments below. Now, I'm just going to give you a bit of a fair warning. This game has been out for what is it, nearly 2 weeks, and there isn't a massive amount of information on how these dealers work. So a lot of this information, I'm going to pencil it down as speculatory. Whether we know how this works is a fact or not is totally debatable. In my opinion, it kind of feels like a mechanic that's been half written into the game. It doesn't really show us a massive amount of information behind it. Feel free to play around with it, test it as much as you like. That is the fun of this game. You might think, get into the end game and then that's going to be it. But I promise you, once you have finished this game, there is going to be so much more content that you had no idea. Once you get a good grasp on automation and how things work, the more fun that you're going to have is going to be building, refining, and testing unique ways of systems, trying to keep up with the current meta. There is a lot of fun to be had in this game just outside of the main story. Once you finish, it turns into a little bit of a sandbox, and if you can wrap your head around some of these console commands, you can really unlock the potential of this game. Now, I mentioned it once before. If you're interested in seeing this 8-step mixing process, leave a comment down below and we're going to walk through how to set up this bungalow. Now, I know a lot of you are going to be reaching for the keyboard. Hey, I've got my 8-step mixing set up in the barn or in the docks along with my fully automated setup. I've got this many botanists and this many chemists in there, and that's totally fine. If that works for you, then absolutely. But there is one specific reason why we have decided to do mixing in the bungalow. And it's simply going to be because of one reason. This is how far your employees have to work before they reach their workstation. Now, mixing is a very long process, and if you don't get it right, you can slow down the production of your factory tenfold. If you have employees that are having to walk out your door, walk across the road into where the barn's waiting, so this is probably where they're going to be waiting, maybe even further in relation to the barn. Now, if you have your mixing station not by the front door, it's going to take them a long time for when that mixer clicks. They're going to have to walk all the way in, find the mixer, do the process of moving it one over, then turning it on. And that is going to slow down your production massively, because that walk every single time compounds every single step of the mixing process. And now for docks, it gets so much worse. If you're running your mixing out of docks, I feel sorry for you, because I know how frustrating it must be having your employees walk so far before they can turn on the next stage for the mixing. So that is why the bungalow is the most efficient way to run your 8-step mixing. We are just pumping out bricks. Now it seems we have a bit of an issue in the supply chain somewhere. That is fine. I've been fiddling with it myself. So as long as it keeps flowing the way that we want it to flow, we're not going to have much of a problem. So I've identified the problem here. We have these two stages mixed over from one another. So that's going to be the last 3. So we're just going to remove all of his routes, and we can see that it's going to be this employee here. It's going to be his last route. So we wanted to go batteries into... Okay, it's probably because I played with it a little bit. Our routes were actually correct. Now your job really is just going to be fill these shelves. It's up to you whether you want to produce more than 8 bricks at a time. If you want to resupply 160 units to each one of these shelves, feel free to do so. Now, if you didn't know a great tip on when it comes to resupplying your shelves, if you own a Vipa van and you drive all the way to this gas mart here, it's really not that long of a drive once you get your speed going, and you pull into this yellow loading bay, you can then buy your product and load it directly into your van. And that way you can supply yourself, if you have an empty inventory and an empty van, and restock 3 shelves at one time. Or simply, you can pull your van up to this gas station here with an empty inventory and just buy and load the van yourself and then take it back. It's not going to take you a long time to restock these shelves. Now, I personally believe this is a very fast producing 8-step mixing process that you can run a lot of product very quickly through. Now, there's different ways in how you can intersect. So if you just want to do single stages, you can set it up like that. And then just produce a lot faster. You know, it's really not that complicated of a design. Feel free to play around with it and just set it to how you want it. But that's going to be it for this guide. Quite a lot of effort went into finding all this information for you and setting up a mixing process that I would be happy to share with you. So if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, comment, and a subscription. It really goes a long way. Helps me, gives me feedback. You know, if the video that I produce is something that you guys enjoy, or if I need to, you know, focus on something that is a bit more specific or even better quality, it really does let me know. And of course, as always, I'll see you in the next one.